Hello, good day everyone. We are Group 10 of the UTT GrowBox Project 2019. The purpose of this project was to limit the spending of foreign exchange on unnecessary food imports. Hence, this GrowBox project was set out to promote the development of community gardens across the Point Fortin, Labrie, and Faizabad areas, and also to promote the appropriate training for these endeavors. Now that the 2019 coronavirus has severed the flow of goods and people, we are now seeing the importance of a home vegetable garden. The world may well be entering into a global recession.
Relevant information with respect to food importation bill. Trinidad and Tobago agricultural sector has experienced a steady decline in recent decades. This decline has played a pivotal role in the increase of the country's food importation bill based on the article produced in the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian on Friday 26 of October 2018. It has been observed that the contribution of the agricultural sector to the GDP, gross domestic product, has continued to decline below 1% since 2012, consequently increasing Trinidad food import bill and decreasing our foreign exchange earnings. Within the same article, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Colum Inbert, has suggested, however, that if a greater emphasis be placed on the agricultural sector, the country's food import bill can be reduced. As such, we are of the perception that with the introduction of home gardens in the community of Labrie, Faizabad, Point Fortin, and by extension the entire country, eventually the national income will increase and the general health of the nation. Additionally, the introduction of kitchen or community gardens will improve air and soil quality. The biodiversity of plants and animals will also increase, and there will also be a reduction of food miles which are required for the transportation of nutritious food. Thank you.
How we went about this project. Well, firstly, we made an observation of the community, the different living situations, the different diets and different plants planted in each person's yard or home garden. One thing taken into consideration was yard space as well, because when we did our research, we realized that there was an option for a vertical garden, and we realized that it was more feasible for the average community member to implement in their household. Secondly, research was done via secondary data collection using websites such as Pinterest and blogs and articles to find creative GrowBox solutions. After we went about making a Gantt chart to help us to plan how we are going to go about the deliverables which were the GrowBox solutions generation, which was the coming up of 5 or more solutions, a questionnaire to be distributed to the community, questionnaire analysis report which will help us to make the final decision on a GrowBox solution, the final design for the solution that we chose, list of materials, and creating the GrowBox chosen. We were also planning to do a training event in Savannah in Point Fortin, but that didn't happen unfortunately due to the coronavirus outbreak in Trinidad and Tobago. Hence this, we are going to provide training via sending electronic brochures to community members or the society as a whole, because now we have broader range of people that we can reach out to. The solutions chosen to be proposed to the community were the vertical gardening tower, the self-contained compost garden, the plastic bottle vertical gardening tower, the tire garden, and a hydroponics gardening tower, all vertical grow-up solutions ideas. The final decision made after analysis was the vertical tire garden, as it includes recycled materials, old tires, which are free. If you go to any tire shop, they give out the old tires for free, and many other cheap materials. The final cost of the project would sum up to less than $500, which is deemed affordable.
My name is Digesh, and today I will be speaking about what is a home garden and the benefits of having a home garden. Now, to begin, the definition of a home garden is an integrated system which can comprise of different things such as the family house itself, a kitchen garden, or a mixed garden which can either be grown in the backyard where there's ample space or in the front yard depending on the home location. Now, a home garden produces a variety of goods such as crops, vegetables, fruits, medicinal plants which can either be used for home consumption by family members or to be sold to create an income. Now, I shall be going through a list of reasons to own a home garden. Number 1, save cash or generate an income. Food supplies coming from the outside, example, food, vegetable markets or supermarkets, are often expensive as farmers who produce these crops initially encounter variables such as difficulty in transporting goods or dealing with unforeseen circumstances such as heavy rainfall which can lead to flooding, disease, pest control issues which also destroy crops or limit the amount available. Now, these factors can affect us as they increase the price range at which these products are sold at, which can create huge monetary burdens on families. However, having a home garden, for example, for you having a home garden, fresh produce at home which can be grown will subsidize the amount of produce which will be needed to be purchased. This would limit the amount of money being spent in the budget. Or, selling the produce from the home garden which can be grown can generate an income. The cash from these sales, such as fruit, vegetables, medicinal herbs, seasoning, can be beneficial for the family's income, as you can use this money gained to purchase other goods in the supermarkets or vegetables, which can albeit limit or negate the amount of money being spent by the family altogether, or be used towards other events in the family's budget, such as school, or to pay bills, utilities, otherwise, etc. Right, number two is home garden food reserves or having a year-round food supply. Now, each family has a universal right to have access to enough nutritious food to ensure that all members of the family stay active, healthy, and self-sufficient. Now, it is very important to have reserves of food or money or both so that your family can be able to purchase or get these items to be able to live through emergencies, special occasions, or just general day-to-day living. Some of the items which you can grow at home and a food garden to have these items at hand are fruit trees. Fruit trees can give continuous supplies of food throughout the year or in different seasonal variations. Find out the different types of harvests and different fruits in your area and plant it in such a way so that you can have fruits all year round. You can have root crops. Root crops are living food stores which can be left in the ground until you need it. These are, example, cassava, sweet potato, yams, normal potatoes. Many also have nutritional leaves. And lastly, medicinal herbs. Medicinal herbs such as ginger, garlic, fever grass, saffron are highly sought after in the market, thus making it a limited and expensive commodity. Having these items at home can limit the amount of time and energy spent on looking for these items and making sure that your family has a constant supply to remain healthy and active. Number 5, it can provide a sense of community belongingness. Now, people who own home gardens altogether doesn't necessarily have to do all the work on their own. you can get your neighbors, friends, or the entire community involved. This gives you a sense of belonging and community gathering together. As there are knitting clubs or painting clubs, there can be gardening clubs where members of the community come together to share tips and tricks and to share different crops which are being grown. This can cause community positivity and growth and health between members and neighbors. And according to the Journal of Public Health, people who, and this is a quote, people who work together in allotment gardens have significantly better self-esteem, total mood disturbance, and general health compared to those who do not garden, according to a 2016 study. Being able to form a garden group with members of your community can have fun and respective competition, as well as have total health benefits. And lastly, the last point which I should be speaking of is beautification of your home and environs. Now, a home garden doesn't always necessarily have to be totally about crops or vegetables. Many persons use the opportunity of a home garden to grow flowers and different trees and grow ferns, etc., palm trees. No, the reason being is to beautify your home and environs. This can make your home more appealing when the flower patches start to bloom, as well as enjoy the fragrance emitting of the flower patches for yourself and the passing surroundings. This can make your home seem warm, friendly, and have a more homey sense of feeling to you and your family. Now, there are a lot of persons who spend a lot of money buying decorative ornaments, plants, or landscaping to provide a more natural, serene aura around their homestead. However, by growing your own plants and decor, you can create this comfortable, serene feeling by yourself with nothing more than a little effort and a couple of plant seedlings. Now, this 6 benefits can also help you understand what it means to have a home garden, or can maybe further influence you to try it or start it on your own. Thank you for your time.
Everyone, my name is Shalom Matthew, and I will be talking about the crops and how they were implemented into our design. So, to begin, the crops we used were pimentos, chives, celery, and tomatoes. The main factor in which we selected these crops were due to the nature of the questionnaire, in which was given to the communities and asked them to indicate any crop or plant in which they were interested in growing if they were interested in the GrowBox project. Each of these plants or crops selected were of high desire from the community and were easy to source. The last factor in selecting the crops was the feasibility in which the crops can be implemented into our design. With that being said, I will now explain the manner in which the crops were used. So, for the top layer of our design, we used pimento plants. This was due to it being the tallest plant in terms of growing in length, and with that being said, it allowed the plant to be unhindered and allowed whoever is managing the garden to easily harvest or easily monitor the plant. For the middle layer or the second layer, we used or planted the chives and celeries. This was due because although they are not as tall as the pimento, they are still tall, and together they grow well, and they need that unhindered space to be able to grow properly. That second layer allowed the person who is managing the garden to be able to see also and not to pick up any abnormalities or any little problems he may encounter. For the last and bottom layer, we used the tomato plants. This was mainly because of the tomato being a vine in nature, and because it needs to grow and extend. It being on the bottom layer allowed it to be unhindered and not mingle or tangle with any other crops if it was on any of the other layers. This design we hope was in essence well thought of, and with all those ideas in mind, we just hope to bring the best out of design while ensuring the plants were able to be properly maintained and grow to its intended use. And that brings me to the end of my allotted time, so thank you.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adrian Tiloxing, and today I'll be giving you a rundown on the steps required on creating our vertical tire design. So it is essential that you first acquire these materials. So you need 3 old tires, 2 plastic sheets 6 by 6 feet. You need 1 20-foot zinc coated RHS 2x2. You need 1 20-foot angle iron L50, 1 tube of silicone, 3 bags of Promix, 1 quart of zinc oxide paint, and for welding we'll need 2 pack of 10G welding rods. So some of the tools you may require would be a square, a measuring tape, a 6-inch grinder, and of course you will need a welding plan. So the first step involves reading off the schematic and cutting the required pieces to suit and also marking them.
Okay, so this is our schematic of the design. So as we can see, we have a plan view, a front view, and a side view. So this is important, so we'll have an idea of what materials we need and what length must be cut. So we have 3 levels. For the support, we'll actually require 8 pieces of L50 angle iron at 275mm in length. For the central support, we'll need an RHS hollow sectional steel approximately 1150mm in length. And finally, for the base, we'll need 275mm in length by 4 pieces of the RHS hollow sectional steel as well. The next step is basically marking the RHS steel to identify which part the support should fall. So from the base to the top of the second support we'll need to go 600mm, and from the top of the second support to the top of the third support we'll need to go 550mm. So we basically mark the RHS steel accordingly.
So once we've marked our pieces, we can then proceed onto the preparation stage for welding. So all those marked pieces must be grinded at least 1 inch before and after the mark. For the next step, we must cut 3 circle pieces from the plastic sheets, and it must have the same diameter as the tires used in our design. We must also cut a square in the center of the circular piece 2 by 2 inches. Once completed, we can then further slide the plastic into the tire. This will later act as a support for the soil in our design. Next, we can move on to the fabrication process of the support bracket. So we start at the base. The base, we attach the RHS pieces 90 degrees apart from each other and weld. We recommend you use a square to ensure it is uniform and accurate. Once completed, we then slide our first tire into the top of the RHS down to that level. Next, we move on to our second level. So for our second level, it's quite similar to the base, but in this case, we'll be using the angle iron. So the angle iron is to be attached 90 degrees apart from each other, and of course, we have to use a square to ensure it is uniform and accurate. Once we are completed, we can then slide the tire and repeat the same steps for the third and final level. So for the next step, we add inhibitors, or should I say rust prevention. So in this case, we'll be using zinc oxide, but if you don't have zinc oxide, you can use red oxide as well. We recommend you allow it to dry for a further 15 to 20 minutes. Next, you have to drill holes under each plastic sheet at each level. Next, we must add silicone to the area where the metal steel RHS meets the plastic sheet. This is to ensure that water or moisture doesn't accumulate in that area, which can further lead to rusting. We intend for the water to escape through the drill holes we previously drilled. Next, we move on to adding the soil into the system. But first, we recommend you spread a sheet on the floor. This is to prevent mess. And then we can begin adding our first layer. Our first layer on each level will consist of mulch. This must be added 3 inches high on each level. The topsoil as well will be added on each level 3 inches thick. And finally, our Promix will be added 1 bag each on each level. Once completed, we must then saturate the soil by spraying a mist of water for approximately around 5 minutes. We can then begin planting our plants on each level. I would say this design have a life expectancy of around 7 to 10 years. Of course, it can depend on environmental factors and also weather conditions. So we recommend you paint the system every 2 to 3 years in order to prevent the corrosion from occurring over time. Some of the changes we hope to implement on our design later on, or modifications I should say, would be implementing a watering system. So it will be controlled by a valve, and based on the drip system implemented, the pressure won't harm the plants in any way. So the individual can control the flow of water by the ease of turning a valve.
Good day. My name is Shanice Quirian, and today I'll be discussing how to properly manage the crops grown in your home grow box system. This will entail tips on planting, as well as how to tend to each crop during the growing season. The crops grown in our grow box system were tomatoes, chive, celery, and pimento peppers. There are 3 macronutrients that are widely used by plants, and they are nitrogen, N, phosphorus, P, and potassium, K. Nitrogen is largely responsible for the growth of healthy green leaves. Phosphorus is responsible for root growth as well as flower and fruit development. And the nutrient potassium, K, aids in the overall function of the plants. Hence the reason why a complete NPK fertilizer is widely recommended in different ratios depending on the plant's needs. Tending to your crops. We'd first begin by discussing tomato plants. The first step to having healthy plants begin by first planting them in an environment that they will thrive. Tomatoes should be planted in well-drained, fertile soil in the late afternoon between the hours of 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. Seedlings should be planted 12 inches apart and 4 inches deep. Immediately after transplanting, the seedlings should be watered. To improve the pH of the soil, crushed eggshells, limestone, or wood ash can be added to the soil along with well-rotted manure or organic compost. Develop a water schedule so that mature plants will receive 2 to 3 liters of water daily. Insufficient water will cause flower and blossom end drop. Fertilizers. A complete NPK fertilizer high in phosphorus, such as 10-40-10, can be used 1 week after transplanting to promote root growth. 2 to 3 weeks after transplanting, a complete NPK fertilizer that is high in nitrogen, such as 20-10-10, can be used to promote the growth of new healthy green leaves. Thereafter, 4 to 6 weeks after transplanting, a complete NPK fertilizer that is high in potassium, such as 12-17+2, can be used to aid in the growth of strong, healthy plants. In terms of pest control, chive can be planted nearby to ward off pests, as can be seen in our system. This now leads me to discuss tips for planting chive. Chives. Chives thrive in soil that is well drained and mulched. Mulching reduces the soil's water loss due to evaporation, and it also protects the plants from soil-borne diseases that spreads by soil splatter. Just like tomato seedlings, chive should be planted in the late afternoon, and watered immediately after transplanting. Chives should be planted 4 inches apart if they are single. However, if they are bunched, they should be planted at least 12 inches apart. Chives grow best in full sun, however, they will tolerate light shade. Caring for your chive. Lightly till the soil around the plant every week to allow more water to reach the roots. Immediately after transplanting, apply 1 teaspoon of a complete NPK fertilizer that is high in phosphorus, such as 12-24-12, at the base of each plant to encourage growth. Thereafter, fertilizing should be done 10 to 15 days with a granular NPK fertilizer, such as 20-20-20, using 1 to 3 teaspoons per plant. Since seasoning herbs have such strong aromas, they naturally repel most insects, thus making pest control really simple. This now leads me to discuss another seasoning herb that was planted by us: celery. Celery should be planted in warm, nutrient-rich, fertile soil that has great water retention. The use of well-rotted manure or organic compost can be used to give fantastic moisture-retentive soil. Seedlings should be planted at least 8 inches apart, with mounded soil slightly around the roots. Caring for your celery. Celery should be given a steady supply of water and nutrients to ensure that the soil does not dry out. Mulch or compost can be added around the plants to help retain moisture and nutrients. 1 tablespoon of organic NPK fertilizer, such as 5-10-10, can be used at least twice in the growing season, once placed several inches away from the plant. Celery plants can be watered with manure or organic compost tea for additional moisture or nutrients. Lastly, we will discuss pimento. Pimento seedlings should be planted in warm, fertile, well-drained soil on a warm day. Additionally, seedlings should be planted 18 inches apart. Compost or well-rotted manure can be mixed into the soil to increase its fertility. Caring for your pimento plants. Pimento plants need a steady supply of phosphorus, calcium, and magnesium in order to healthily blossom. 1 teaspoon of Epsom salt can be mixed into the soil to increase its magnesium levels. Pimento plants should receive at least 1 inch of water per week. And this concludes the discussion on how to properly manage the crops grown in your home grow box system.